So here we are on board Laura Abbey. That was your boarding process. So nice and close to the terminal. You can still see it nice and close on the left-hand side. And like I say, it really emphasises the point that there will not be any need to coach to your air. The aircraft you see in front of us is one we've borrowed to test our fixed electrical ground power. Gents, you can see the new air traffic control tower. That was the first sort of development which came into being. That became operational in March 2011. On the right hand side, this development work that you can see is some remote parking which we're building, but hopefully they might become contact aircraft stands in the future. So you can see the terminal as is at the moment, and our planning application at the moment is to extend that out probably to about where we are now to make it symmetrical on the railway station. And we've also got some long stay car parking being built around the base of the tower. So the short stay parking at Stansted is a similar distance from the Stansted terminal as our long stay parking will be from our terminal. So again, no shuttle buses required. If you need one, or if you need some assistance walking, then obviously we will provide one for you. But I think the majority of people will choose to walk from the car. On the right hand side you'll see an old Vulcan bomber. This one doesn't fly. It's been on the airport now for a number of years. There's some people who look after that and keep it nice and clean and run its engines up every now and then, and to be honest, when that runs its engines up it does wake up most of Rochford, so they try and do it during the daytime, but I think nobody seems to complain about that one. I can't imagine why. So this is our new taxiway. We're just about to pull onto the runway, so that's how long your taxi time will take. So I don't know if you've ever flown from Heathrow or Stansted or Gatwick, but you can often find yourself on the ground for a number of minutes taxiing. That way now, it's obviously the extended runway. We're not coming onto the extended end of it. We're going to drive down the middle of the runway. The entire runway has been relayed in a special new material which gets rid of standing water very, very quickly. Runway is over 3,000 metres long, so we've optimised this runway for operations within Europe, and we're certainly not looking to do any of the global activity or wide-bodied large aircraft activity, which would be rather noisy and make our airport quite different. Other end of the runway then, this is where we've extended the runway. Ahead of us you will see where East Woodbury Lane used to run, and if anybody can spot it, I'll give you a fiver because I can't see it anymore. It's gone. And the church on the right hand side there, that's the Church of St Lawrence. So that was much ado. The previous owner was talking about putting that on stilts, rolling it down the hill, replanting all the graves elsewhere and that sort of thing. That didn't go down too well in planning terms. We worked with the Civil Aviation Authority to deliver a solution which saw us put some instrument landing systems, some very accurate landing systems onto this runway, so that mitigates the risk of the church as an obstacle. So the church is not a problem, it can remain where it is for the foreseeable future. We're now firmly onto the runway extension. You'll notice 3 large X's on the right hand side. That's to stop pilots being over enthusiastic and landing on it before it's open. The runway, they tend to do that if you don't put crosses on it. The runway extension will open on the 8th of March, and it will come into use on the 8th of March. So that's well in advance of our EasyJet operations on the 2nd of April. What you'll see ahead of us, and as Craig turns us round to the right here, you'll see a new road which we built on the left hand side that skirts around RBS. You'll see a children's play area. £800,000 worth of children's play equipment went into that play area. Now on the left hand side you'll see part of our instrument landing system. That's the orange aerials, and the approach lights, which are in yellow. So there on the right hand side now you can see the new park that we've built, and that's because when we extended the runway and diverted East Woodbury Lane, we went through a children's play area. So I think we made one 2.5 times larger and spent some money on children's play equipment so that they didn't lose their park. We've also built some additional parkland there as well. On the right hand side now as well, you'll see what we call a pyjama building. You can guess why it's called pyjamas, red and white stripes. And in front of that you can see another part of the instrument landing system which we put on this runway. So that piece of equipment is called the glide slope. That keeps the aircraft at the right height from about 8 miles away all the way into its touchdown. And the other one which we saw with the runway lights at the other end, the orange aerials, that's called a localizer. So that keeps the aircraft lined up in terms of left or right in terms of the runway from about 8 miles away. We're now going to vacate the runway onto our Charlie taxiway. And you'll see a couple of our flying clubs. Flying clubs have been very important to this airport for a number of years. We unfortunately saw one leave us last year or the year before because the market for private flying is tight because people are a bit tight on cash and it's quite an expensive hobby. But Southend Flying Club here on the right hand side, and then Sea Wing Flying Club are two of our remaining flying clubs. And down at the other end near the new terminal we've got flight centres still in place as well. And we'll always look after them, we'll keep them here as long as they want to be here. Coming up on the right hand side you've got a company called ATC Lasham. Since the airport sort of died in terms of passengers a number of years ago, it's companies like this who've really kept the airport operational. This is a globally renowned aviation maintenance business. They do maintenance, repair and overhaul of aircraft up to 200 seats, 250 seats. So you can see we've got aircraft in from Africa, the Republic of Gambia there on the right hand side. Arak is from Nigeria behind that. We've got Jet2.com who are based in Leeds. We've got a number of different aircraft here. And then coming up on the right hand side we're really back to the old traditional stuff. We've got the airport fire station here on the right hand side. We'll be building a new one of those at some point in the future. We've then got an old freight shed which we've decommissioned, which is behind that. Then we've got Viscount House, which is the wooden building which you see there, which dates back quite some time. Viscount House is famous. That's where James Bond's Goldfinger was filmed. He drove through that and then drove onto a plane to chase a baddie off into Europe. In those days, when the airport was really busy, people were driving their Rolls Royce and such like onto aircraft and flying them across to Ostend in Belgium and then driving them around Europe. Of course, James Bond drove an Aston Martin. And you can see our old terminal there with London Southend Airport written on it. When we open the new terminal, we're not allowed to use two terminals at once. So when the new terminal opens, that one's got to close within a month or so. But what we anticipate is it'll be effectively mothballed as soon as we move into the new terminal. Once we're in the new terminal, that will leave that building, and it could be used perhaps for business jets or something similar to that. Also on the right hand side you can see our old air traffic control tower. That one couldn't see the other end of the runway, so we needed a new one, that's why we built a new one. And behind that you can see the hotel development. So that will be a Holiday Inn core brand initially, and that's a £10 million build. That opens on the 16th of July, 11 days before the Olympics opening ceremony on the 27th of July. And we're going to probably start selling beds on that fairly soon. It'll be 3 or 4 floors of stay overnight before you fly in the morning, or arrive in late and stay overnight before you go into London or head home the next day. Top 2 floors, hopefully a rather smart restaurant, cocktail bar and private dining experiences, stuff like that, a few executive suites and So we're arriving back onto stand in Laura Abbey. Craig's been our driver. Craig often comes down to do these tours for us and he's very good. We're going to go in through the arrivals process. You'll experience the arrivals process. If you imagine getting off your EasyJet or Air Aran regional plane with carry-on baggage only, you test yourself and see how quickly you think you could get to the railway station. They would really like to just get your thoughts on how things have gone today and what destinations you might like from here in the future. So we've got lots of our lovely staff waiting for you in the arrivals area. If you could spare them just a couple of minutes to fill in a quick form, it's nice and easy. They'd be ever so grateful. Thank you very much for your time today. Enjoy your arrivals experience, and if you've got any questions, I'll be standing outside the coach on your way off. Cheers.